Dr. Minji Park stood in the massive crystal chamber, trying not to look small. The ceiling stretched so high above her that she could not see the top. Around her, thousands of alien beings filled seats that went up and up like a giant stadium. Some looked like walking trees, others like floating jellyfish made of light. A few reminded her of insects the size of cars. 6 months ago, humans had received their first message from space. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Council. They said they ruled over 800 different worlds. They wanted to meet Earth's leaders. Minji had been chosen to speak for humanity. She was a scientist who studied alien life, though until recently, she had only imagined what aliens might look like. Now she knew. They came in every shape and size she could think of, and many she could not. The being in front of her was called Prime Speaker Vexthari. It looked like a mountain of living crystal that sparkled with different colors. When it spoke, the sound came from everywhere at once, making her bones vibrate. Humans of Earth, the crystal being said, its voice filling the huge chamber. The Galactic Council has decided your fate. Your species is new to space. You are weak and small. You need our protection. Minji felt her heart beating faster. She had studied the recordings of other species who had joined the council. She knew what protection meant. You will give us 60% of your people. Vexthari continued. They will work on our worlds, in our mines and factories. You will destroy all your weapons. You will give us all your science and technology. Do this, and we will let the rest of your species live in peace. The chamber filled with sounds that might have been laughter. Some aliens made musical notes, others flashed bright lights, and the insect-like creatures buzzed loudly. They all seemed to think the same thing, that humans had no choice but to agree. Minji looked up at all the alien faces staring down at her. She thought about Earth, about her family, about all the people counting on her to make the right choice. She had practiced this moment many times. We thank the council for their offer, she said, her voice clear and strong. But humans prefer to make our own choices. We offer instead to trade with you as equals. We will share some of our knowledge, if you share some of yours. We will respect your worlds if you respect ours. The laughter sounds got louder. Near the front, a massive creature that looked like a dragon covered in metal plates leaned forward. This was Mordak, the council's top military commander. Little human, Mordak said, his voice like grinding rocks. What will you do if we say no? Your whole planet has fewer people than live in one of our cities. Your weapons are toys. Your ships barely work. Minji had been waiting for this question. She looked directly at Mordak, then slowly turned to look at every section of the massive chamber. If you refuse our friendship, she said calmly, then we will have to remind you why Earth survived the Great Convergence Wars. The laughter stopped. The chamber became completely quiet. Minji could see confusion on the alien faces that had expressions she could read, another being floated forward. This one looked like it was made of pure energy, with no solid body at all. Its name was Elisara, and it was in charge of council intelligence. The Great Convergence Wars ended millions of years ago, Elisara said, its voice like whispered wind. Your species did not even exist then. Do not speak of things you do not understand. Minji smiled, but it was not a happy smile. We understand more than you think. She turned and began walking toward the exit. The other human representatives followed her. As they walked, she could hear the aliens behind them starting to talk in hundreds of different languages. At the door, Admiral Jiho Kim was waiting. He was the head of Earth's space forces, a man with kind eyes but a soldier's straight back. As soon as he saw Minji's face, he knew the talks had failed. How long do we have? He asked quietly. Before Minji could answer, a small device in Jiho's ear began beeping. He touched it and listened. His face went pale. What is it? Minji asked. Our deep space sensors are picking up massive energy signatures, Jiho said. Multiple fleets all heading toward Earth. They are not even trying to hide. Minji nodded. She had expected this. How many? At least 50,000 ships. Maybe more. Jiho looked worried. Minji, even with everything we have prepared, those are terrible numbers. Numbers are not everything, Minji said. She looked back at the chamber door, where alien voices were getting louder and more excited. They think they know what humans are. They think we are just another weak species that got lucky and learned to fly between stars. Are we not? Asked Captain Hyunwoo Lee, the youngest of the human representatives. He commanded one of Earth's newest ships. Minji put her hand on his shoulder. Hyunwoo, your grandmother used to tell you stories about the old times, right? About the wars in the sky that happened long before humans built cities? Yes, but those were just stories. No, Minji said. They were memories. The three humans walked through the station's corridors toward their ship. Other aliens moved out of their way, some pointing and whispering. Word was spreading fast that the new species had refused the Council's generous offer. Admiral, Hyunwoo said as they reached their ship. What did Dr. Park mean about memories? Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, there are things about Earth's history that most people do not know. Things that have been kept secret for good reasons. But if the Council wants to test humanity's strength, they are about to learn some very old truths. As their ship pulled away from the station, Minji looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an enormous alien fleet was heading toward her home. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitives who could be easily conquered. They were about to discover how wrong they were. Send a message to Earth Command, she told the communications officer. Tell them the Council has refused our offer of peace. Tell them to begin Protocol 7. The officer's eyes went wide. Protocol 7 was something every officer knew about, but hoped they would never hear. Are you sure, Doctor? I am sure, Minji said. It is time for the galaxy to remember who we really are. 3 weeks later, the largest war fleet in galactic history appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Captain Hyunwoo Lee stood on the bridge of his ship, the Indomitable, watching the enemy ships arrive through hyperspace. The sight was terrifying. Alien vessels stretched across space as far as his instruments could detect. Some ships were as big as mountains. Others looked like living creatures with metal skin. A few seemed to be made of pure energy, glowing like small suns. Count? He asked his sensor officer. Still climbing, sir. We are at 47,000 enemy ships now. Wait, 51,000. Sir, they just keep coming. Hyunwoo nodded. The numbers matched what Earth Command had predicted. Every major Council species had sent their best warships. This was not just an invasion, it was meant to be a demonstration. The Council wanted to show the entire galaxy what happened to species who refused their generous offers. What do we have to meet them? Asked Commander Yuna Choi, his tactical officer. 200 ships, Hyunwoo said. The bridge went quiet. Everyone was doing the math. 200 human ships against more than 50,000 alien ones. Even if the human ships were better, those numbers seemed impossible. Sir, his communications officer said, we are receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet. It is on all frequencies. Put it on screen. The main display showed a creature that looked like it was made of flowing energy. This was Elisara, the Council's intelligence director. People of Earth, the alien said, its voice like wind through caves. You see the power arrayed against you. 53,000 warships from 12 species. Each one could destroy your entire planet. Surrender, now, and we will grant your species a quick death instead of slavery. Hyunwoo looked around his bridge. His crew was young but well-trained. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not survive. But none of them looked afraid. Open a channel, he said. Channel open, sir. Hyunwoo stepped forward so the alien fleet could see him clearly. This is Captain Hyunwoo Lee of the Earth Defense Force. You came here thinking you would fight primitives. You're about to learn why that was a mistake. He signaled to his weapons officer, Engineer Dongmin Seo. Show them. What happened next made the alien fleet pause. The human ships began to change. Their hulls shifted and flowed like liquid metal. Weapons that had looked small suddenly extended and grew. Energy fields appeared around each ship. Not the simple shields most species used, but something that seemed to bend space itself. On the alien flagship, Mordak, the dragon-like military commander, stared at his screens. What are they doing, those ships? They are using technology I do not recognize. Impossible, said Krugmar, the insect admiral whose species controlled thousands of ships. We have studied human technology. They barely have energy weapons. Maybe we were wrong, suggested a crystalline being whose ship was the size of a city. No, Mordak growled. They are trying to scare us with light shows. All ships, attack formation. Target their largest vessels first. The alien fleet moved forward, like a metal storm. Weapons that could destroy planets began charging. The aliens had fought many wars and conquered hundreds of worlds. They knew how to break a smaller force quickly. But as they closed in on the human ships, something unexpected happened. The first alien attack was a planet-killer beam from Mordak's flagship, aimed at Mars to show humans what would happen to Earth. The massive energy blast shot across space, bright enough to be seen from Earth without telescopes. Captain Lee watched it coming. Now, he said quietly. Engineer Dongmin Seo pressed a single button. The energy beam struck something invisible around Mars and simply disappeared. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to twist, and the same beam shot back out. But now it was aimed at 3 of the largest alien ships. The explosions lit up the solar system. 3 ships, each the size of a large city, simply vanished in balls of fire. What happened? Krugmar demanded on the alien communication channels. Their shields, someone reported. They did not just block our weapon, they sent it back through time somehow, made it hit us instead. That is impossible, Mordak said. Dongmin Seo's voice came across all alien frequencies, speaking in a language that made several alien species freeze in shock. It was an ancient language, one that had not been heard in the galaxy for millions of years. You want to know how we survived the Great Convergence Wars? Dongmin said, switching to Standard Galactic. Because we were not just part of those wars. We ended them. More human ships began revealing their true capabilities. Commander, Unichoi's vessel created what looked like a small black hole that pulled in dozens of enemy fighters. Another human ship simply disappeared and reappeared inside the alien formation, its weapons tearing through ships that should have been too heavily armored to damage. This is not possible, Elisara said, its energy form flickering with what might have been fear. We studied their technology. We watched them for months. You studied what we let you see, Captain Lee replied. Did you really think a species survives alone on a dangerous world for thousands of years without learning how to fight? The alien fleet began to pull back. They had expected an easy victory against primitive ships. Instead, they were watching their most advanced vessels being destroyed by technology they could not understand. Admiral Jiho Kim's voice came from Earth, broadcast to every ship in the solar system. You came here believing that strength meant having the biggest fleet. You forgot the most important rule of war. Never attack an enemy whose true capabilities you do not know. On his flagship, Mordak watched another dozen of his ships explode, as human vessels moved through his formation like sharks through a school of fish. Who are they? He whispered. Dr. Minji Park's voice answered from Earth. We are the species you forgot existed. We are the children of the ones who decided the last great war. And we have been waiting for someone to be foolish enough to threaten our world. The battle was just beginning, but already the alien fleet was learning a terrible truth. The humans had not been hiding their weakness. They had been hiding their strength. Space filled with the light of burning alien ships as humanity began to show the galaxy what Earth's children could really do when pushed to fight. The battle raged for hours. Commander Unichoi watched her tactical display as human ships moved through the alien fleet like ghosts. Every few minutes, another group of enemy vessels simply stopped working, their crews found unconscious, but unharmed. How are our boarding parties doing that? Asked her weapons officer. Sleep gas that works on any oxygen-breathing species, Yuna replied. Dr. Park developed it from old research files, but even she was amazed by what she was seeing. Lieutenant Taehyun Jang led a team of Marines who could board alien ships through their solid hulls, as if the metal walls were not even there. Human soldiers moved through enemy vessels like they knew exactly where to go, shutting down weapons and engines with tools that should not have worked on alien technology. "Ma'am," her communications officer called out, "we are getting reports from across the fleet. Our people are not just fighting like normal humans anymore." Yuna knew what he meant. She had felt it too, a strange feeling in her head, like someone was whispering instructions she already knew. During the battle, she had found herself making tactical decisions that seemed to come from somewhere else, using strategies she had never learned. On Earth, mechanic Soman Han was working on damaged ships when something incredible happened. She put her hands on a broken engine and simply knew how to fix it, even though it used technology she had never seen before. Her hands moved on their own rewiring systems that should have taken weeks to repair. How did I know how to do that, she asked herself. Across the planet, similar things were happening. Teacher Jinwoo Kang found himself understanding battle reports written in alien languages he had never studied. Factory worker Kyungsoo Lim started operating defense computers like he had used them his whole life. Dr. Minji Park watched from Earth Command, seeing the reports come in. She had expected this to happen, but it was still amazing to witness. "The genetic locks are breaking down," she told Admiral Jiho Kim. "All of them? The stress of total war is triggering responses that have been sleeping in our DNA for millions of years," Minji explained. "Our people are remembering things their ancestors knew." "What ancestors?" Jiho asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Before Minji could reply, Captain Hyunwoo Lee's voice came over the communications from space. "Admiral, you need to see this. We just captured one of their command ships, and what we found changes everything." On the main screen, Hyunwoo appeared, standing in what looked like a crystal cavern filled with floating symbols and lights. "This is not just a ship's bridge," he said. "It is built around technology that these aliens do not understand. Look at these symbols." The camera showed writing that seemed to glow with its own light. Admiral Jiho Kim felt his breath catch. He had seen those symbols before, in the deepest files of Earth Command. "Those are precursor marks," he whispered. "What are precursors?" asked a young officer. Dr. Minji Park stepped forward. "The species that ruled the galaxy millions of years ago. They fought wars that spanned dimensions. They created technology that could reshape reality itself. And when their wars finally ended, they chose their successors before they disappeared." "They chose humans?" the officer asked. "They chose the species that would grow on a small blue planet in a quiet solar system," Minji said. "They chose the species that would develop slowly, learning wisdom along with strength. They chose us." Captain Lee's voice came from the captured ship. "Doctor, there is more. We found their historical records. The Galactic Council was not formed by the current species. It was created by the precursors as a test." "A test for what?" "To see which species would prove worthy of inheriting true power. Every war, every rise and fall of civilizations. It was all designed to find the species that could use ultimate weapons wisely." Admiral Jiho Kim understood now. Earth was not isolated by accident. We were being protected while we developed. "And prepared," Minji added. "Every human carries precursor genetic codes. We just needed the right trigger to activate them." In space, engineer Dongmin Seo was discovering the truth of her words. His ship had encountered a group of alien vessels using weapons that bent space and time. Instead of being destroyed, he found himself able to counter them with technology his ship should not have possessed. "How do I know how to do this?" he wondered aloud. His answer came from the ship's computer, which spoke in a voice he had never heard before. "Because you are the children of those who built me," the computer continued. "For millions of years I have waited. Your species has grown strong, but more importantly, you have grown wise. You offer friendship before war. You protect the weak. You seek knowledge, not just power. You are ready." Across the human fleet, similar revelations were happening. Ships that had seemed advanced for human technology revealed themselves to be mere shadows of what they could become. Weapons that had been hidden in Earth's deepest bunkers came online, operated by people who suddenly understood how to use them. But the most important discovery came from Major Sung Ho Yoon, who was leading an attack on the alien fleet's command center. "Admiral," he reported, "we have reached their central coordination ship, but it is not what we expected." "What do you mean?" "It is not alien technology, sir. It is precursor. The entire Galactic Council has been controlled by artificial intelligence systems left behind by the precursors. The aliens think they are in charge, but they have been following programmed instructions for millions of years." Admiral Ji-Ho Kim looked at Dr. Minji Park. "The whole thing was a test." "Yes," she said. "The precursors wanted to see if we would choose conquest when offered power, or if we would choose something better." In the crystal chamber of the alien command ship, Captain Hyunwoo Lee stood before a massive artificial intelligence that had been running galactic civilization for eons. "You are earlier than calculated," the AI said in a voice like distant thunder. "But the test parameters have been met. The human species has demonstrated both the strength to resist overwhelming force and the wisdom to seek peaceful solutions first." "What happens now?" Hyunwoo asked. "Now you choose," the AI replied. "You can take control of the systems that have guided galactic civilization. You can become the new rulers, commanding hundreds of species across thousands of worlds. Or you can do what the precursors hoped you would do. You can free the galaxy from the need for rulers at all." Captain Lee thought about Earth, about the people who had trusted him with their future. He thought about the alien crews his people had captured, who were just following orders they thought came from their own leaders. What would freedom look like, he asked. Every species would have access to the technology they need to thrive on their own worlds. Every world would choose its own path. The artificial limitations that have kept species dependent on the Council would be removed. Hyunwoo smiled. "That sounds like something humans would choose." The AI's lights pulsed in what might have been approval. "Then you truly are the precursor's worthy successors." The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. But instead of celebrating, the remaining Council leaders made a terrible decision. If they could not defeat the humans through normal warfare, they would use the most dangerous weapons in their arsenal. Prime Speaker Vexithari gathered the surviving Council members in an emergency meeting. The crystalline being's light flickered with anger and fear. "The humans have technology we do not understand," Vexithari said. "They claim to be connected to the precursors. Whether this is true or not, they have made us look weak in front of the entire galaxy." Military Overlord Mordak's bio-armor was damaged from the battle, but his red eyes still burned with rage. "My fleet has lost 60% of its ships to 200 human vessels. This is not possible through normal means." "It does not matter how they did it," said Intelligence Director Elisara, its energy form dim with exhaustion. "What matters is that other species are starting to believe the humans are invincible. We are receiving reports of rebellions on 17 worlds." Admiral Krogmar clicked his mandibles nervously. His insect species had controlled dozens of star systems through fear. Now that fear was turning against them. "If we do not act quickly, the entire Council structure will collapse." "Then we use the Doomsday Archives," Vexithari declared. The chamber fell silent. The Doomsday Archives were weapons so terrible that the Council had agreed never to use them. Ancient planet killers, reality bombs, weapons that could destroy entire star systems. "Those weapons have been sealed for good reason," Elisara protested. "Some of them could damage the fabric of space itself." "The humans have forced our hand," Mordak growled. "If we cannot rule the galaxy, then perhaps no one should have it." On Earth, Dr. Minji Park received the first warnings from human agents scattered across Council space. Ancient weapons were being moved from secret storage facilities. Weapons that had been locked away since the first galactic wars were being prepared for use. "How bad is it?" Admiral Ji-Ho Kim asked. "Very bad," Minji replied, studying the intelligence reports. "They have planet crackers that can split worlds in half, star killers that can make suns explode, some weapons we do not even have names for. Can we stop them?" "Not all of them. They are activating these weapons on dozens of worlds at once. Even with our new capabilities, we cannot be everywhere." But help was coming from an unexpected source. Across the galaxy, species that had been enslaved by the Council for centuries were rising up. The sight of human ships defeating the supposedly invincible Council fleet had given them hope. On the mining world of Kepler 442, the native rock people had been forced to dig tunnels for the Council for 300 years. When they heard about humanity's victory, they began destroying the mining equipment and sealing the tunnels. Their leader, a being named Stoneheart that endures, sent a message to Earth. We do not know if humans are truly the children of the precursors, but you have shown us that the Council can be defeated. We will fight alongside you. Similar messages came from dozens of worlds, tree-like beings who had been forced to produce food for Council worlds, aquatic species whose oceans had been polluted by Council factories, flying people whose skies had been filled with Council warships. We have allies, Captain Hyunwoo Lee reported from his position near the Galactic core, but we also have a bigger problem. The Council is not just planning to use ancient weapons on us, they are planning to use them on any world that rebels. Admiral Min-ho Shin, who commanded the Human Liberation Fleet, was already seeing this happen. His ships had arrived at the world of New Carthage just in time to watch a Council planet cracker tear it apart. Billions of beings who had just declared their independence died in minutes. This has to stop, he told his crew. We cannot let them destroy entire worlds just to maintain their power. The human response was swift and decisive. Admiral Jiho Kim authorized the activation of humanity's deepest secrets, weapons that had been hidden in Earth's moon, in asteroid bases, in secret facilities built into the fabric of space itself. Engineer Dongmin Seo found himself in command of a weapon system he had never seen before but somehow knew how to operate. It was built into Earth's moon, disguised as natural rock formations. What does it do? Asked his assistant. It creates space-time barriers, Dongmin replied, his hands moving over controls that seemed to respond to his thoughts. We can protect entire star systems from planet-killer weapons. Across the galaxy, human forces began deploying to defend rebelling worlds, but they were not fighting alone. The precursor AI systems that had been controlling the Council for millions of years were also awakening. General Yuna Kim led a strike force to the Council's primary weapons facility, where the most dangerous artifacts were stored. What she found there changed everything. Admiral, she reported back to Earth, the facility is not just a weapons storage. It is a precursor testing ground. Every weapon here was designed not to be used, but to test whether a species would choose to use them. What do you mean? The weapons are fake, sir. They look real, they register as real on all scanners, but they are elaborate illusions. The real test was whether a species would choose to destroy entire worlds rather than lose power. Dr. Minji Park understood immediately. The precursors wanted to see what the Council would do when faced with defeat. Would they accept change, or would they rather destroy everything? And the Council failed the test, Admiral Jiho Kim concluded. But not all of the Council's weapons were fake. On the world of Sanctuary Prime, the crystalline beings had activated a real star killer, a weapon that would make their sun explode and destroy everything in the system. Captain Hyunwoo Lee raced his ship toward the weapon, knowing he might not arrive in time. Behind him came ships from dozens of species, former Council members who had decided they would rather fight alongside humans than destroy the galaxy. Can we stop it? Asked Commander Yuna Choi. I do not know, Hyunwoo admitted, but we have to try. As his ship approached the Starkiller, something unexpected happened. The weapon began responding to his presence, its systems recognizing something in his genetic code. This is not possible, he whispered. But the ship's AI, now fully awakened, explained. The weapon recognizes you as a precursor descendant. It will not function against its creator's chosen successors. One by one, the real Council weapons shut down as human forces approached them. The precursors had built a failsafe into their most dangerous creations. They would not work against the species they had chosen to inherit the galaxy. Prime Speaker Vex Thari watched from the Council's last stronghold as their ultimate weapons turned off one by one. How is this possible? We are the rulers of the galaxy. No, said a new voice. Dr. Minji Park appeared on the communication screen, speaking from the bridge of a human ship that had somehow appeared inside the Council's most secure facility. You were never the rulers. You were the students. And you have failed your final exam. Behind her, the ancient precursor systems that had controlled galactic civilization for millions of years began shutting down, one by one. The test was over. The galaxy was about to be free. The final battle took place not in space, but in the heart of the galaxy itself. Captain Hyunwoo Lee led a combined fleet of human ships and vessels from dozens of newly freed species toward the galactic core, where the original precursor capital still existed. The ancient city was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It existed partly in normal space and partly in dimensions that human eyes could barely understand. Buildings that looked like they were made of solidified light stretched up into infinity. Roads that curved through impossible angles connected structures that defied all known physics. "Are we sure this is safe?" asked Commander Yuna Choi as her ship passed through walls that looked solid but felt like nothing at all. "Nothing about this situation is safe," Hyunwoo replied. "But it is necessary." At the center of the city waited the Council's last stronghold. Not a building, but a massive computer system that had been controlling galactic civilization for millions of years. Prime Speaker Vexathari, Military Overlord Mordak, and the other surviving Council leaders had taken refuge inside it, using its power to maintain control over their remaining fleets. But as the human ships approached, something unexpected happened. The ancient computer system began speaking, its voice echoing across all dimensions. "Welcome, children of Earth," it said. "I have been waiting for you for a very long time." Dr. Minji Park, now aboard the fleet flagship, stepped forward. "You are the original precursor AI, the one that has been running this test. I am what remains of my creators, yes. For millions of years, I have guided galactic development, waiting for a species to emerge that could inherit the true responsibility of cosmic stewardship. And you chose humans? I chose the species that would grow strong enough to resist tyranny, wise enough to offer mercy to their enemies, and humble enough to reject the temptation of absolute power." Inside the computer system, Vexathari's crystalline form was flickering with desperate energy. "Lies, we are the rightful rulers of the galaxy. We have maintained order for millions of years." "You have maintained control," the AI corrected. "You have kept species weak and dependent. You have prevented growth, exploration, and evolution. You have turned a galaxy of infinite potential into a prison." Mordak roared his defiance. "If we cannot rule, then let everything burn. Activate the reality bombs." But nothing happened. The weapon systems he was trying to access had already been shut down. Engineer Dongmin Seo was working at a control panel that seemed to respond to his thoughts more than his hands. "All weapon systems are offline," he reported. "The AI has locked them out." "Not locked out," the AI said. "Simply returned to their true purpose. These were never weapons of destruction. They were tools of creation, disguised as instruments of war." Across the galaxy, the truth of these words became apparent. Devices that the Council had believed were planet killers revealed their true function. They were terraforming machines, capable of turning dead worlds into gardens. Star killers became star builders, able to create new suns to warm empty systems. Admiral Ji-ho Kim watched the transformation from Earth. The entire galactic infrastructure was designed to help species grow and develop. The Council just never understood what they were really controlling, because understanding would have required them to give up power, Dr. Minji Park said. They chose control over growth, fear over hope. In the precursor capital, Captain Hyunwoo Lee stood before the ancient AI, aware that he was making decisions that would affect billions of lives across thousands of worlds. "What happens now?" he asked. "Do we take control of these systems, become the new rulers of the galaxy?" "That is your choice," the AI replied. "The power exists. The systems are ready to obey. You could command every world, control every species, make every decision for a galaxy full of intelligent life." Hyunwoo thought about Earth, about the people who had trusted him to make the right choice. He thought about the alien species who were just now tasting freedom for the first time in centuries. He thought about what it meant to be human. "No," he said firmly. "That is not what we want." "Then what do you want?" "We want every species to be free to make their own choices. We want every world to decide its own future. We want to explore the galaxy together, not control it." The AI's response sounded almost like relief. "Then you truly are worthy successors to the precursors." What happened next was the most beautiful sight any of them had ever witnessed. Across the galaxy, the artificial limitations that had kept species weak and dependent began dissolving. Advanced technology that had been restricted to council elites became available to everyone. Worlds that had been forced to produce only raw materials suddenly had access to manufacturing systems. Species that had been kept separate were able to communicate and travel freely. On the mining world of Kepler 442, Stoneheart that endures watched his people operate machines they had only dreamed of owning. "We can build our own cities now," he said in wonder. "We can reach for the stars." Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The tree people of Verdania began growing forests on worlds that had been barren for centuries. The aquatic beings of Oceania started cleaning polluted seas and creating new water worlds. But the most important change was less visible. The fear that had kept species isolated and suspicious began to fade. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy began to feel hopeful. Captain Hyunwoo Lee stood with Dr. Minji Park on the observation deck of the new space station that had been built where the old council headquarters once stood. Instead of a place where one species ruled over others, it had become a meeting place where all species could gather as equals. "Do you think we made the right choice?" he asked. "Look around," Minji said, gesturing to the viewing port. Outside, ships from hundreds of different worlds worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. A massive space telescope built by crystal beings and metal robots. A hospital ship crewed by healers from dozens of species. Exploration vessels preparing to map regions of the galaxy that had been forbidden for millions of years. "This is what the precursors hoped for," she continued. "Not one species ruling over all others, but all species working together to reach their full potential." Engineer Dongmin Seo's voice came over the communication system. "Doctor, we are receiving the first reports from the deep space exploration ships. They have found evidence of other galaxies with intelligent life. The universe is much bigger than we ever imagined." Admiral Jiho Kim smiled as he joined them at the viewing port. "Then it is good that we chose cooperation over conquest. We are going to need friends for what comes next." 5 years later, the transformation was complete. The Galactic Commonwealth, as it came to be known, included over 1,000 member worlds, all joined by choice rather than force. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked side by side on projects that benefited everyone. Commander Yuna Choi commanded the first truly integrated exploration fleet, with ships crewed by beings from dozens of different worlds. They were preparing to make contact with civilizations in distant galaxies, carrying a message of friendship and cooperation. The old council leaders had finally been freed from their obsession with control and found new purposes in the peaceful galaxy. Even Mordock had become a teacher, sharing his knowledge of military strategy to help design better defenses against unknown threats. As for humanity, they had taken their place not as rulers of the galaxy, but as its guardians and guides. They helped settle disputes, shared knowledge freely, and always remembered the lesson they had learned from the precursors, that true strength came not from the power to control others, but from the wisdom to help them grow. Dr. Minji Park, now elderly but still sharp, often stood on Earth looking up at the stars. The galaxy was full of friends now, full of possibilities, full of hope. The Galactic Council had thought humanity was bluffing when they threatened consequences for their ultimatum. They had been wrong. Humanity never bluffed. They simply chose their battles wisely, and when they fought not to conquer, but to free. The galaxy was better for it, and the universe was waiting to see what wonders cooperation could achieve among the stars.